Before we get into today's video, I do want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all have had a wonderful week. I hope everybody is doing good and feeling great. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a case that happened back in 2015 down in Miami-Dade, Florida. Yes, Florida. Now, this case has to do with a place called Job Corps. Have any of y'all ever heard of it? I had heard of it when I was younger because I had some friends or people that I ran with that were court ordered to go to this place called Job Corps because they're all over the place. Now, the way that Job Corps advertises themselves was, first of all, they're federally funded, okay? They advertise themselves as a place where 16 to 24-year-old young adults can attend, or they are court ordered to attend, and they give them vocational training. They live in the facility. They have, a roommate in there. You could be a mechanic or electrician and stuff like that. And then they allegedly promise job placement when the young adult finishes their job program. So it seems really great. Maybe you're a young adult and you don't really know your way or whatever, and you can go get into Job Corps where you can make friends in there and you can have a roommate situation and you all go to school together, and then you're guaranteed a job in that career field when you finish Job Corps. It seems wonderful. The things that a lot of people don't talk about, though, is there's a lot of corruption, allegedly, in the Job Corps, and we're going to talk about that here, as well as it is heavily filled with kids that have had troubled past or that were, got in trouble with the law and the judge ordered them to go there versus sending them down the road. And so then you have a place that has a whole bunch of kids that's been getting in trouble in one spot. And then, what can go wrong? And that brings me to the story that we're going to be talking about today. And this is the case of Jose Amaya Guardado. And let's just start at the beginning. Jose's mother and father, Lucia and Santos, were raising their 6 children in El Salvador. Jose's mother and father's names were Lucia and Santos. Now, Jose was the youngest of 6 siblings, so he had 5 older siblings. And in 2006, his parents moved him and his siblings to Miami to escape all of the violence and stuff that was going on in El Salvador. And later, Jose's mother would say that she brought her children to the States and they moved to Miami in order to keep them safe and to give them the best chance that they would have at a good future. Jose would struggle to make friends. He was described as a very shy kid. One of his cousins even said that some people thought that he was antisocial, but he wasn't antisocial. He was just really shy. And he was also very close with his family. He would go to school and he would work hard with his family to help his parents make ends meet because there was 8 of them living in one house. So you can just only imagine the struggle moving all the way from another country to a brand new country, having to learn everything new, all while having a household of 8. This is what would introduce Jose's parents to the idea of Jose possibly going to Job Corps. See, there was a big Job Corps down there in Homestead, down by Miami-Dade, Florida. Jose had wanted to become a mechanic, so it sounded perfect for him to go into Job Corps. He could make new friends, he would be surrounded by other kids, and he would learn to be a mechanic and then be guaranteed a job in the mechanical field when he was finished with schooling. So it just sounded perfect. The problem is nobody told Jose's parents that a lot of the kids in the Job Corps were actually troubled kids. Jose and his family went to the Job Corps to check it out. Now, this building was in a remote area of Miami-Dade. It was completely surrounded by woods in order to kind of, I guess, keep the young adults there isolated from the outside world, to keep them focused on their schooling and their goals. And after they went and checked the place out, they decided that this would be the best thing for Jose, and he was enrolled in 2015 when he was 17 years old. Once Jose was enrolled, he was immediately assigned a roommate. His roommate's name was Kaheem Arbelo. Although Jose was shy, he was excited at this new opportunity and the chance to make new friends. However, his new roommate and his friends were not the types of people that he would want to hang out with. Kaheem was 20 years old at the time, and he had been being raised by his grandmother because his mother was actually when he was very young. Kaheem also had a bad rep for being mean and a bit of a bully. He was also known to be selling substances to the other students at the school. He was also dating a young woman at the school named Desiray Strickland, and at the time she was 18 years old. And their group of friends was made up of 3 other young men named Jonathan Lucas, who was 18, Christian Cologne, who was 19, and a young man named Joseph, who was 22 years old at the time. All of them had criminal records and were known to push other kids around. So right off the bat, you have got young, 17-year-old, shy Jose, okay, whose parents, just angels, thinking that this was the best thing for him, put him in the Job Corps, where they immediately put him in the room with a 20-year-old who had been through some things, who was selling stuff on the campus, ran with his girlfriend who was trouble, and their 3 other friends who was adults all the way up to 22 years old, with all of them having criminal records, all of them being known as bullies, and just, Now, Job Corps, again, being a federally funded organization, has had a lot of rumors coming out about it being corrupt. I mean, I even seen interviews with people that worked there who said that they were supposed to have like an 89%-ish job placement rate. And what they were doing was they were not placing these kids into jobs. This is all alleged, and the information is out there. You guys go do your own research, form your own opinion. But the ex-employee said they weren't placing anybody in jobs. They were just saying that they were to get that percentage, because every month they would get bonuses. So if they said, hey, this kid began working at this job, this kid began working at this job, they'd get thousands of dollars worth of bonuses every month, and nobody ever checked them. They could have made the names up. Tommy G got a job at AutoZone, and nobody was ever checking it. So this was really just a free-for-all, and Jose's parents were thinking that they were giving like him this dream, shy, sweet boy, and he was going to school at the Job Corps during the week, and then on the weekends he would leave and go down to the flea market and sell ice cream for his family to still help support his family. Like a really, really, really good kid. However, because he was a roommate with this 20-year-old hoodlum, Kaheem, who was selling substances, he began to get bullied and pushed around by Kaheem. On June 28th of 2015, and mind you, this is when Jose had been at this school for about 2 months. He hadn't been there long at all. The staff said that he came up to them and asked them if he could go off of campus to buy some snacks. And they said, sure, you can go ahead. It was a store not too far away, and that he would leave to go buy his snacks. At 6:00 p.m., Joseph's parents got a phone call from the school saying that he never returned and they needed to let them know. The parents, knowing how Joseph was, he was very responsible. He would not just leave and disappear. They called the police. When they spoke to the police said, listen, he's 17 years old. He's got to be gone for 72 hours before we can do anything, which to me, again, is crazy because we all know the first 48 is like the most critical time. And this is a minor, and they told them 72 hours before they could even do anything. Jose's family began looking for him immediately. They knew something was off and something was wrong. They searched for days. They looked around. They could not find him. A few days later, after he had went missing, his two older brothers decided that they were going to go and check out that wooded area that was surrounding the Job Corps school. And as they searched through the woods and it began to get darker and darker, they came across this spot of the area that looked like it had been burnt. They knew that it looked out of place, and the more that the brothers began to look, they saw little things, and then they saw 2 feet sticking out from the dirt. Jose's brother said he knew right then and there that that was his little brother, Jose. He could tell by his socks. He had those same socks there at their house. He broke down and immediately called the police, and then they came out. Jose's brother would later go on to say that he could not help himself but to look, and that even though the body had already been severely decomposed, he just knew. He knew that was his brother. The cops would later confirm that yes, it was Jose, and he had been buried somewhat in a shallow grave. At this point, nobody could figure out who would do this to Jose, why they would want to do this to Jose, but they began to investigate. And it did not take long for the investigators to come back to Kaheem, his girlfriend Desiray, and the 3 other friends, the 5 of them. As they began to dig more into this and interrogate the young adults, horrifying details and information began to come out. Investigators learned that not only did these young adults at the school do this to Jose, they had been planning it for 2 weeks. They went out to that spot in the woods and they had already dug a hole, and they had a machete out there waiting along with a lighter. That evening when Jose went to go get his snacks, they lured him back into that wooded area where he was attacked with a machete at first. It was said that he had been hit in the head and the face with the machete so bad that his face had actually caved in, and that while he was still alive and hurt and bleeding, they made him crawl into that hole still alive and cover it with dirt and bury him alive. Now, his cousin, when they did this GoFundMe for him to raise the money for the funeral expenses years ago, she wrote in there that it came out that he had been R-worded and beaten to death and buried alive. At first, only 4 of the 5 were arrested, and that was Kaheem, Jonathan, Christian, and Desiray. Investigators say the 3 young men immediately confessed on video to the killing, but Desiray was not cooperative. She shoved and even headbutted a detective before getting shackled in the interview room. She was screaming and crying while the investigators tried to speak with her, and then once she was left alone, she tried using screws from an electrical outlet in the interrogation room to pick her handcuffs, and then wrote MPD go to hell on the table.
Give me my dad! Give me my dad!
I'll talk to you when you calm down.
Can you give me my dad? I will be calm. Give me my dad!
You've been violent up to now. You need to sit down.
Can you give me my dad?
I'm not going in that room unless you sit down. You sit down, I'll come in the room.
Give me my dad!
Get up! I'm gonna leave because you're acting violent. Okay, and I don't want any problems. Okay, calm down. I'm gonna explain to you what's going on. Like I told you, you're under arrest.
I haven't done anything though!
Listen to me. You haven't waived your rights. Okay, so I'm gonna
Okay, I'll talk to you, but I haven't done anything. I promise I didn't do nothing.
You wanna talk to me? You gotta
I'll talk to you,
go
but
get your hand up one, and you gotta explain to me what your mother was.
I didn't do anything. I did not kill that boy. I promise.
I never shoot you anything.
They arrested me for murder, but I didn't do anything.
I'm gonna look to your right. If you're really telling your side of the story, I'll listen to it. Is that an agreement? But that means I'm gonna have to take off your cuffs.
I didn't do anything.
Listen to me. Are you willing to talk to me? I look to your right. If I take off your cuffs, you're not gonna shove me. You're not gonna hurt me. Okay. You promise? All right. Give me a second. Talk to me or no?
Yes, but I didn't do nothing.
But I don't want to hear your story until we get to the rest. Your dad is downstairs waiting right now. Your dad is downstairs. No, you can't talk to him right now.
Why?
Because that's right now, you're under arrest right now. Okay? You want to talk to me or no?
I want to talk to my
You're
dad.
not going to talk to your dad right now. You're not going to talk to your dad. If you
Why? I can't really get my
These
stuff.
are your options. You can either, I can uncuff you, you can talk to me and tell me your involvement in the whole case, or we just, because you go to jail. Nobody's
I haven't done anything. You can't send people.
I can take something for your whole involvement.
I have no involvement. I didn't do anything.
From our investigation has revealed the involvement that you were in with the case.
I have no involvement.
Listen to me. We have the statements of Kaheem Arbelo, okay, Jonathan Lucas, okay, Christian Colon, as well as many other people.
I have no involvement.
Well, that's something you're going to have to deal with your attorney. Okay, we have confessions from all these people. And something you need to do with your attorney. You can keep crying and screaming all you want.
I'm not crying. I'm screaming.
You have two options. You can sit here quietly and wait to be taken to the jail, or you can waive your Miranda rights and tell me your side of the story. It's up to you. I'm not going to question you without going through your Miranda first. It's up to you. I hadn't even got to that before you shoved me in the door.
I didn't shove you.
What do you call that? What you did?
I was moving the door. I wasn't even touching you.
You call it moving the door. I call it shoving me. You cannot put your hands on a law enforcement.
I didn't put my hands on you.
I'm not going to
touch
argue.
me.
I'm not going to argue. Okay?
Don't lie.
I'm not going to argue. Okay? You do what you want to do. So stay quiet.
I haven't even done anything.
I'm asking you is just stay quiet.
Kaheem, Desiray, and Jonathan initially were charged with first-degree murder, and Christian faced a second-degree murder and a conspiracy charge. Kaheem and Jonathan also faced charges of first-degree conspiracy and evidence tampering. They also charged Desiray with resisting an officer with violence, battery of an officer, and criminal mischief. They were all held without bond. A few months later in September, officers arrested Joseph for his role in the murder. He was staying with family in Missouri at the time. And also in September, prosecutors said that they will seek the death penalty against Desiray after officially charging her with the first-degree murder charge. Her attorney entered a plea of not guilty, and they were ready to take the case to trial. However, in February of 2017, the death penalty was dropped for all of them except Kaheem. In 2020, both Jonathan and Joseph pleaded guilty to one charge of conspiracy, and Jonathan received a 5-year prison sentence with a 15-year supervised release, and Joseph received a lighter sentence according to the Miami Herald. But in September of 2022, Desiray accepted a plea deal and pled guilty to conspiracy. So she ended up getting 15 years in prison, including 7 years credit for her time served. I looked her up in the Florida database and I seen the prison that she's at, which is on the other side of the state from where she's at. It is one of the air-conditioned prisons. And it just makes me wonder too, like if she just got sentenced at the end of last year, was she in Miami-Dade with Courtney Clenny? Were they in there together? They may have been. Nevertheless, she's on track right now. If she doesn't do anything good the whole entire time she's there, she's going to get out in 2030, which I really believe a 15-year sentence for any of these young adults is extremely lenient for what they did. Oh, and the part that I forgot to tell you guys was it is alleged that Desiray, so when they lured him out into the woods, Kaheem is the one that started hitting Joseph with the machete first. She walked away, Desiray did, to pee in the woods. When she came back, allegedly she was infuriated that they had started without her, and she took the machete and wanted to jump in. It was also said that after they put him in the hole and the other young adults left, that Kaheem and Desiray stayed behind and had next to his body while he was laying there dying in that hole. So 15-year sentence for them, in my opinion, again, was extremely lenient. Okay, I've seen people get 15-year sentence that's never been in trouble before a day in their freaking life, and they did one thing wrong in a split second and got 15 years. Okay, so I'm tripping about it, especially when you see the way she acted. Like, now Kaheem, he is still facing the death penalty. He is still going to trial all this time later, and who knows what he's going to get. I mean, this is one of those cases where you're not talking about somebody that made a split-second decision. These kids planned this out for 2 weeks. And I say kids, they were all technically adults. They were all over the age of 18. Obviously, Jose's family were absolutely devastated. I even watched an interview with his brother that was done by a news network that came up and spoke to him outside of his house. And he said that every time he drives by, he sees that. So To me, you know, it seems like he's got some PTSD. I mean, you would imagine it, him going and finding his little brother. And then, of course, Jose's parents were infuriated because, one, they ran from the violence in their country in order to protect their children here. And then they go and put their son in Job Corps thinking that he's going to have this great future and maybe make friends because he was shy. And they were never told that most of the kids in there were in there because of troubled past, because they were sentenced there by a judge. And he was literally there for 2 months before these kids did this to him. Now, Kaheem would later come out and say that it was because he owed him money, $200. I don't believe that. I don't believe Jose owed the money. What would he need to owe the money for? He was going on the weekends to the flea market to work, to sell ice cream for his family to help his mom and them pay bills. So when we're talking about Job Corps and other like programs and facilities like this, because I wasn't in Job Corps, but I was in other facilities that were government funded and that I was, you know, sentenced to by the judge. These places like this are so understaffed, just like anything, basically just about anything that's super important in America right now that is governmentally funded is understaffed. People are overworked and they're underpaid. And it just makes you wonder, like, how different things could be if we took taxpayer dollars and invested it into these types of places and programs and schooling, real schooling and stuff like that. I don't know. Anyways, what do you guys think? Have y'all heard about this story? I sure hope that Jose's family is doing okay now. I'm sure that they will never completely heal from it, but I do hope that the siblings are doing better. I hope everybody is having a good life here. So let me know what you guys think down below. Other than that, y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see y'all next week. Thank y'all for being here. Love you guys. Bye.